Hi everyone, how's it all going? And today I have something pretty interesting because when I was in Maxx last week, I ended up finding a Beyblade Burst Rise Hypersphere sold Valtryek, and I've never found a Hypersphere Bay in England before, so I thought it was pretty interesting because when I go to Maxx normally, if there is any bays, it's normally single layer, dual layer, or even god layer, but there hasn't been anything ahead of that. And I thought it was pretty interesting to actually find a relatively recent Beyblade in England because we don't tend to find them at all here. So I picked it up. It was for £5.99, which is not a lot of money considering they normally go for about $10 in America if you were to go to Walmart somewhere and buy one. So that's a pretty good bargain. I know it's kind of old now, so Valtryek. It's still relatively new, but it's not as new as Brave Valkyrie, but still, it's relatively new compared to some of the other stuff I find. And it is by Hasbro as well, as you obviously know. I don't even know why I need to say that, but it is by Hasbro. It's not a fake. One thing what does interest me though is that this is clearly imported from somewhere else because it has Watford on the back, and I'm not from Watford. And it also has TJX, which is, if you don't know, Maxx is the English version of TJ Maxx, which is an American store, so this might have been imported to Watford from America, so who knows, and they've probably found the way around all of the TJ Maxx stores in the country, because someone else in the comment section said that he also found sold Valtryek from Beyblade Burst Rise in his TJ Maxx as well. So if you're watching this, shout out to you, I guess. I'll put your comment on the screen. Go subscribe to him, why not? I don't know if he does content or not, but you know. So it could just be that a bunch of Valtryeks have been imported to the UK, and if that's the case, well, that's kind of cool because I never thought I'd ever find one in England. So I'm going to do an unboxing. I know I haven't got many recent bays lately because Beyblade Burst Dynamite's Battle's out, and I'm probably going to get the new Vanished Fafnir because I think it looks cool. And I will unbox it on the channel, why not? But still, sorry about not having many recent bays. But let's actually look at this Valkyrie box. So Valtryek, say Valtryek or Valkyrie, who knows? I'm going to say Valtryek, but on the back of it, it just says the parts. It's got Sword Valtryek V5, and a lot of the things with these Hasbro products is that they try and go for a bit more of a gimmick. You know, they'll have Hypersphere and all of this on the back, and I just don't really, I personally don't think it's as good as the Takara Tomy products. However, it is different, so if you're looking for something different to a Takara Tomy Bay, I guess Hypersphere's a decent thing for you. Plus I'd probably say they are relatively cheaper as a whole, especially if you don't live in anywhere in Asia where you're going to find Takara Tomy Bays. So do I think it's a good looking bay? In the box it looks solid. It actually looks relatively glossy, which is quite nice. And let's just unbox it because there's no need to spend too much time on this box. It's not really that interesting compared to some of the Takara Tomy ones. We don't need to look at the manuals, but I'm just going to assume they're the same carbon copy manuals you get on the other bays. It does have a elastic band to try and keep them in place, which is handy because sometimes the fake companies don't do that. Well, I don't think they ever do that, to be honest, the fake companies, but sometimes Takara Tomy doesn't do that. They tend to use plastic bags instead, which as a whole, I don't know what I prefer, plastic bags or elastic bands, who knows. We don't need to know that anyway. Let's go take out the launcher. This is basically just your generic Hypersphere launcher, and to be honest, I don't really see much of a difference between this one and the Slingshot launcher. It's kind of the same thing, apart from this one's orange and it looks slightly different, and I feel like my hands are starting to get a bit too big for the Hasbro launchers. Like, it's scraping off the side, especially if I had a Beyblade on it. So as a whole, do I really rate this launcher? No, I don't think you should get one. If it's just the launcher alone, I don't think you should pay money to get one of these. I don't think it's very good. You should go for maybe a string launcher or something like that. That's a lot better. Even the fake launchers, I'd say, are better than the Hasbro launchers, and that's saying something because some of them don't even work. But as for the bays, do you know how I was saying what do I prefer, plastic bags or elastic bands? I definitely prefer the plastic bags actually, because the elastic bands are just a pain to get out, and at least nothing went flying. We've got the Valtryek layer here, and it is really hollow. It's very hollow. This hasn't been filled in, the plastic hasn't been filled in. The QR code's there instead of on the chip because you've got to be able to remove the chip, and instead of twisting it, you kind of just push this big circle out, and it has slopes instead of teeth, which is interesting. And the way isn't actually a way, it's kind of molded into the base, which I'd probably say isn't as good because there's not as much weight on the spare, but who knows how good it can be. I've never actually used it, even though I have seen videos, and to be honest, performance-wise, it's not the best. The chip, like I said, looks quite glossy. It's transparent, as you can see. It's translucent, transparent, glittery blue, if it actually focuses. I think it looks decent compared to some of the other Hasbro Beys. Here we have quite a unique part. We've got the Hypersphere Blitz, which you can actually put a frame on. And Hasbro cheaped out on the discs as well. And they didn't give them any of the gimmicks, so they basically made them like normal discs where you can put frames on them. And I'm going to be perfectly honest here, I really don't think these are any good. But they're neat, they're actually quite cool. You might be able to put a frame on one of these. Who knows, one of them might be competitive. I don't really look into too many Hasbro competitive parts, but there's that. And we've got the final part, which is by far the weirdest one, and it's the Hypersphere Driver. Kind of went flying there, but we've got the Hypersphere Driver, and this is supposed to be power. And it doesn't look like power, I'm going to be honest, and it's kind of rough on the bottom. Maybe it's to create friction, but as you can see, it's kind of got little bumps on it. The spring on it feels really weak. I doubt this is going to have a strong lock on it. It'll probably burst quite easily, like a lot of the Hasbro Beys, especially when you're battling them against a Karatomi, because they're a lot stronger and heavier. But these are quite weird, these drivers. They're the kind of the shape of Trick, if you have Judgment Joker, and they also remind me of the old LED Beyblades, which are... Do you remember the electric ones? They did a Valkyrie and a Spriggan. This is a long time ago, but they kind of look like that. And I'm just going to assume this is going to look really weird and out of proportion when I put this in, and wow, those slopes are weak. That is incredibly weak. I'm so used to the teeth on Brave Valkyrie, which are like insanely strong, and these slopes are so weak. So here's Sword Valtryek alongside Brave Valkyrie, and as a whole, I think Brave Valkyrie looks better, but for a Hasbro Bey, like I said, I don't really think Sword Valtryek looks that bad. You can do a lot worse than Sword Valtryek when it comes to Hasbro. Do I think it's as good as Chozi Valtryek? No. Do I think it's as good as the Legends Valtryek? No. But for a Hypersphere Bey, it doesn't look too bad, other than the fact it does look a bit weird and dodgy and hollow from this angle. From the front angle, it actually looks solid, but when you look on the side and the back, it doesn't look as good as it potentially could be. And I'm not going to do ratings out of 10 because I think that's just weird, but as a whole, I'd say this is meh. It's okay, if you know what I mean by that. It's not the best thing you're ever going to see. It's not a Chozetsu Spryzen, or Turbo Spryzen. Yeah, that's what it's called in Hasbro. It's not as good as one of those, but it's not exactly one of the worst beys. It's not a Z Achilles A4 either, you know. So yeah, it looks solid, and I'm going to do a few test battles up against it. I'm going to do Air Knight from Hasbro, the slingshot one, because I think that'll actually be a fair battle, considering this is quite light as well. So 2 light beys, and I'm also going to do 1 or 2 rounds against Brave Valkyrie, what I've displayed a few times in this video. So yeah, let's get the stadium set up, let's move everything out of the way, and let's get this started. just sent it flying. So Valtryek didn't burst as well, it didn't even click, but it just went all the way across the garage, so I'm just going to take it as Brave Valkyrie is still better than Sword Valtryek, despite Sword Valtryek actually getting a win, which is quite interesting. So, if you did enjoy this little unboxing video, I know it's nothing too recent, however I just thought I'd do it anyway because I wanted to upload a video on this channel. Thank you so much for watching, if you did, and hopefully I'll do some more recent stuff soon, so stay tuned for that, and goodbye.